Joining me today is Arundhati Bhattacharya, President and CEO of Salesforce South Asia. Ma'am, many thanks for speaking to PTI.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Let's start with Agentic AI, the new kid on the block. What is, Agentic AI? You try to, break it down for our viewers. And how is it, playing the role of a growth engine for Salesforce India's business momentum?
So, yeah, very, very pertinent question because I wanted to address the growth engine first in the sense that we have just uploaded our 24-25 numbers, results. There's been a 47% growth in our numbers from last year, the revenues, and it's around 13,300 odd crores this year. So that sort of indicates the rate at which we are growing. And agentic AI is very much a part of this whole deal. Why it is a part of this whole deal is because we have found that most companies are now beginning to understand how agentic can actually help their people be far more productive. We don't talk about job replacement with agentic. We talk about the human in the loop, but with the human much more empowered, empowered faster, empowered better, empowered in a way that they are able to actually do much more with the same amount of time. So you are increasing productivity and efficiency while at the same time you're meeting your top line and your bottom line commitments. Okay. And what is agentic basically? Agentic is basically where you are using artificial intelligence and you are giving that particular instance a set of rules regarding what it needs to do and a set of guardrails about what it should not be doing. You are attaching it to the right kind of data sets to enable it to pull out answers that are contextual. And that is very important, that they have to be contextual answers. If you remember the chatbot of yore, the chatbot used to be given a script, and if you went off the script, the chatbot will promptly hand you over to a manual agent. Here there is no script that is given. The only thing that is given is the data plus what are the rules of the game, meaning what you can do and what you cannot do. Now, with that, the artificial intelligence now, because it is artificial intelligence, and also because it can now do NLP, which is natural language processing, it can take your questions, understand the context, and pull out the right kind of answers from the database that you have given it. Okay. So, to that extent, what they are doing is generative. It is not something that's been given to them strictly. They're actually generating the answers. And in so doing, what it does is that when it is working along with the human, it is empowering the human with the right kind of answers so that my interaction with you will now become much more meaningful, much more useful, and also, will lead to a conclusion faster, because you're not talking from half knowledge, you are talking from all the knowledge that is there in the database behind. And therefore, finding a solution to your questions becomes so much easier. So an agent can be internal facing, can be external facing. Not only that, can agent can not only generate the answers for you, but it can also switch on workflows. If you have automated your workflow, you can actually have the agent switch on the workflow so that the job then follows the workflow and gets done automatically, and you don't have to go and manually do every single thing. So the whole thing becomes a far better experience for the customer and a far more productive kind of an interaction.
Okay, that sounds like a magic genie. So while I'm working, I can have an agent, who is sort of powering what I am doing. And you talked about human in the loop, but I also wanted to ask you, what does this magic genie do to companies' plans for hiring? So if part of the work is now being done by an AI agent or agentic AI as a machine, does that have a dampening effect of India on India Inc.'s ability to hire or its intention to hire people?
Sometimes I go back to it's like a deja vu. When the banks first started computerizing, this was the point on which there used to be a lot of protests, that at the end of the day, if we don't stop the computerization, unless everything is manual, we will never be able to hire more people. But since those days, the kind of work that the bankers have been doing have expanded multifold. The area of actual work has got enhanced a lot, and the number of people that the banks have kept hiring have shown that computerization is actually not something which reduces employment. It in fact can create more employment by creating different kinds of jobs. And therefore, I think, to just take it as something that will eat up the jobs and not give anything in return is probably being very premature. I'm not saying that there will be not no pains at all during the period of transition. Any transition is painful. But as new jobs get created, as you start addressing people's real requirements, which were not getting addressed before because of the lack of ability to do so in the brick and mortar manner, you will actually see more jobs getting created. And more productivity will mean better lifestyles for being people, better standards of living for people, better medications, better study materials suited to what you can actually do. And therefore, more or less, it will mean the bringing forth a potential which otherwise we could not realize in the brick and mortar way.
So last time we talked, which was very recently, you mentioned how your father had retired at 58 while you embraced a brand new career well past that age. And you underline the importance of skilling. And for the benefit of the viewers, I would request you to recapture that, what thought went behind that decision, in terms of your personal grit to push it with Salesforce now. And as an industry veteran, Arundhati, what can corporates really do to ensure that there is no socio-economic fallout of this pursuit of profit that AI will generate for companies?
So, my biggest takeaway from all of this is the need for continuous skilling. This is absolutely important because you cannot expect to participate in the coming days unless and until you're comfortable with the technology that's, literally overwhelming us. Okay. So, in order to do that, you have to constantly skill yourself. You have to constantly understand the mindsets of people. And it's not only a question pursuit of profit. When you look at any of these state hospitals and you see the hundreds and hundreds of poor patients who are not getting addressed because the hospital can at the most hire this many number of doctors, it cannot hire an unlimited number of doctors. So the doctors are also pressurized, the patients are also pressurized, everybody is under pressure, and you are not delivering them the best. So in these cases, if you bring in agents to take the patient's initial symptoms, to give an initial diagnosis to the doctor, and to brief the doctor as the patient is entering what the diagnosis could be, could possibly result in much better patient outcomes. So it's not just a question of greed and pursuit of profit. In a country as large as us, that is 1.4 billion people, it's impossible to render services that people require or people should get with only the brick and mortar. We realized it while doing PM Jan Dhan Yojana. That financial inclusion initiative would never have been possible without technology, the technology that brought in Aadhaar, the technology that brought in the mobile. Similarly, without the technology of UPI and ACR, the QR code, we would not have been able to lend to so many more new to bank customers. We are able to do that only because now they're able to show through the use of technology a proper cash flow. Now, this has actually made the lives of so many people better. So, if you are looking at rendering the right kind of service to a very large number of people, technology is the only way that you can do it. And that is not merely, as you said, a pursuit of profit. Pursuit of profit, I'm not saying is not there, but that's not the case everywhere. In a country as populous as ours, I think something like AI is a need something like generative AI is a need, because we just don't have that much of support that we can give in the brick and mortar manner.
And when you shifted your sights to technology, entering Salesforce as as your next career goal, you of course are in a leadership position not just in India but leading and helming Salesforce's South Asia operations as well. Salesforce Global CEO Mark Benioff makes it a point to talk about your leadership every time. And therefore, just to understand what led you to push yourself beyond the boundaries of what is seen as a general retirement age.
Okay. So basically, when I retired, I thought I still had a few more years that I could give. And I didn't look out for Salesforce job, you know that. It just came to me. It happened to just come to me. Maybe I was at the right place at the right time. But when I was given it, apart from all the other considerations that went into it, I also was very keen on being close to technology. Even when I had sought board memberships, if you remember, I actually was a member of the board of Wipro. And again, it was in order to enable me to stay close to the evolving technology. Because even as chairman of SBI, I had believed that without a strong technology backbone, we would not be in a position to really, ensure that we survived the coming age. And that is a belief that I still completely, adhere to, because I do understand that it doesn't matter whether you're a small business or a large business or a multinational. At the end of the day, if you don't really use technology for your benefit, then you are unnecessarily putting a big handicap on your business, which need not be the case. You can actually have an advantage if you use it in the right way. But having said that, it is, I believe, primary to every business, which again does not mean that the business itself becomes an IT firm. You leave the IT jobs to the IT people, but at the end of the day, it is important to bring it into every walk of business.
Under your leadership, where do you see Salesforce India figuring in the global operations of Salesforce in terms of its significance today, in this engine of Salesforce, global engine of Salesforce? And what are the big emerging trends and opportunities you would like Salesforce to drive in India market? What is your overall vision for the company?
So, we continue to remain one of the fastest engines of growth amongst all the other global outfits. So, to that extent, it is very important for Salesforce. Also, I think the depth and quality of talent that we have in India is probably some of the best. And that's also something which I think is very material to Salesforce. So, I continue to see us growing here in India, both in our sales and distribution piece as well as in our products and engineering and support side, where again we have a very large number of employees doing global support. I see a lot of global leaders now sitting out of India, whereas earlier we used to have very junior teams in India. Today, a number of global leaders are beginning to sit out of India, and I can only hope that we will see more and more of those, and that India will definitely be a very important part and play a very important role in ensuring that we take forward this agentic enterprise that we are talking about. And this is only one of the waves. There will be many more waves that come, and my belief is that the teams here in India will contribute just as much in creating those solutions as they are currently contributing in creating the current solutions.
What are your thoughts on this whole debate and skepticism around AI hype? Because that is, of course, the basis of what we are talking about is agentic AI, artificial intelligence, as a foundation of pretty much everything now, or at least potential to be the foundation of almost everything in terms of businesses and societies going forward. What are your thoughts on AI overheating, AI bubble, and this doomsday prophecy of an AI collapse?
See, this is what happened during the dot com bubble, also. Okay. The dot com bubble did burst. But if you look at all the companies today, can you name one company that doesn't have a website or doesn't do omni channel sales? So it
Yeah, that's
has
that's
crept
good.
into every company in every way of working. And I don't think AI will be different. It may not have a bubble, but the fact of the matter is, at this point, people who feel it's a hype is because they haven't got their ducks in a row. You need to ensure that your data is correct and is giving you the right kind of feedback, because at the end of the day, AI still is reliant on the data you feed it. If you allow the AI to roam all over the internet and scrape out data that may not be true, then the results that it will give also may not be correct. But if you attach it to the right kind of database, and as I said, give it the right work to do and the right guardrails that it should not breach, you will get results from it. And we have seen companies getting results from it. And I have no doubt that if people go about it in the right way, they will see the results of it as well. We
Before
are
I
seeing it
wrap up,
every day in our own company. In our own company is customer zero and all that we do. And we are seeing it in our own company every day.
right, ma'am. Before I wrap up, I want to ask you two quick things. These are not intrinsic to operations, but they affect the operations, the macros, and the regulations. Your views on these digital guardrails that are coming up in India, but not just digital guardrails. I'd much rather expand that ambit to things like the newly notified labor codes, that is being talked about, as being historic and transformative, changing things, bringing the gig economy under the social security net. On the digital regulations front as well, the DPDP rules that were notified recently, the watermarking of AI content. How do you see all of these things coming up, and the macros, of course, the trade and tariff issues, very difficult to separate them from operations at times. How do you look at the digital regulations, the tariffs, the trade issues altogether?
So, I will skip the tariffs and the trade issues. That's not really my area, so I don't want to comment on it. In respect of the digital guardrails, believe me, I am a strong supporter of it. I think this is something that we need to do globally, not only locally, because at the end of the day, all of these things need a global acceptance for us to ensure that nobody goes around doing anything that may prove to be dangerous in the future. Anything that is a force of good can also be used for the wrong purposes. There are always wrong actors, and to prevent that, it is important to have guardrails. In By the way, Salesforce is GDPR compliant, and we do not believe that anything that is happening in India is far more stricter than GDPR. Maybe strict in a few places, maybe a little lax in others. Whatever it is, we expect us ourselves to be in compliance with it. You can't do business in a country unless you are in compliance with regulations, right? So we will be compliant with it. And I personally believe that it is good to have regulations, especially in expanding areas, in new areas where we don't really understand what can happen in the future. It's good to be a little conservative in the initial stages, and not so conservative that you don't allow innovation, but yes, conservative enough. In a way, I think the government has maintained a good balance by saying that you should regulate yourself first, and we will step in only if that regulation proves to be not enough. So I think they are giving us enough scope for innovation, while at the same time ensuring that the wrong things don't happen.
Arundhati Bhattacharya, it was wonderful speaking to you, ma'am. Many thanks for speaking to BTI.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.